Nice. What is going on, everyone? First live stream of the year. Make sure we're connected in here. Let me know if you can hear everything, see everything. I'll try and adjust it if something gets cut off. Haven't done one of these in a bit. But yeah, we're going to do questions Best Ball Mania 5. Yes, we're going to do a Best Ball Mania 5 draft. First draft of the season. We had the mock draft Monday, obviously, on Monday. But I have not yet entered a lobby for Best Ball Mania. This will be the first one. Excited for it. Curious to see how far off my projections are from current Best Ball Mania ADP. Obviously, those are going to change a ton. But yeah, excited to see all of that. So again, someone let me know. Sound quality fine. Visually, I think we'll just go into one. So if anyone wanted to join into this one, it's starting right now. Sensei. Nice. All right. Oh, well, I guess you can't. As soon as I click start, we're joining back up. Do I recognize any of the names? I don't think so. So we got the 4 pick. 4 pick is a little annoying, actually, because 1 through 3, I agree with ADP on. But then, like, after that, Brees, Jefferson, Chase, Bijan, St. Brown. I feel like that's all basically the exact same pick. So 4 is a little bit annoying, but is what it is. So fire away any questions you guys have. Obviously, we're very early in the off season. It is the last day of April. Or pretty sure it's the last day of April. I don't think this is 31 days. Yeah, I didn't get it. It's okay. We're going to do one of these every single week. No, as soon as I clicked start, it was filled. So I think I got like one of the last spots in it. So you guys can join. What do they have actually? Let me check. See if they have. I don't know if they have like a puppy up. I don't think they've released any of those yet. NFL. No, just a 500. So you can join a $3 or something like that. Eventually they're going to have the puppies. They're also going to have like other style ones. I don't want to speak too much on it because they haven't told me too much about it. But they are releasing a few more formats. So they basically said they want to expand their offerings this year and not necessarily expand like Best Ball Mania. So they didn't want to make Best Ball Mania like a $50 million contest with $10 million to first. They didn't want to go that direction. They want to say, okay, we want to attract more people and we want to do like, you know, just more different styles of contests. But again, they're going to kind of release more information on that soon. So I've been going with Brees when I get to this spot, which kind of makes me not want to do it because I've had the 4 pick a few times in like the previous stuff, not Best Ball Mania, and I've gone with Brees. So why don't we take Jefferson just to kind of vary things up. We'll move around a little bit. But yeah, I didn't want to have like 25% Brees Hall or anything. They did draft a running back or two, but it wasn't high. It wasn't one that we expect to be anything. Brees Hall is still obviously good. If you were doing one draft, I'd be fine taking him right there. I'm just kind of varying things up. I want to test out taking the wide receiver first. Loud and clear, good quality, awesome. I can see a little bit on the screen over here. Yeah, it looks like I'm not cutting anything off in terms of, I'll pull up a draft board, by the way, and I'll see what that is. It's on a 10-second delay, so I'll see what that shows up as. But yeah, I don't think I'll be cutting anything up. Chase over Tyreek, please explain. No. Well, Tyreek was drafted. Or at least I don't think. I'm pretty sure Tyreek was... The first 3 were McCaffrey, CD, Tyreek. I'm pretty sure in the rankings. And then why Jefferson over Chase? I mean, they're like the same pick. I'll try and pull up over here. Which would I rather pull up? I'll just pull up like half PPR general rankings. It's like I said before, that's why the 4 pick's a little bit annoying. Because like I do think this is the top 3. I think Jefferson and Chase, it's literally just pick the one that you prefer, whichever one you want to go with. Even St. Brown, you kind of throw it into the mix. I think St. Brown's probably, most people are going to assume that he's a little bit after that. But they're like the same, and I'll pull up the projection. I would just vary that pick. So whenever you have these early picks that are the same, don't just look at the rankings and be like, oh, you know, I'm going to take Brees every time, or I'm going to take Jefferson every time over Chase. I would just alternate. If you're going to do 20 drafts and you get into this position 3 times, take one of them in each. Don't like lock it in. Yeah, the difference is 3.4 points. So that's like, what, a 15-yard catch I guess it's a little bit more than that. It's like a 25-yard catch or so. There's no difference. Just go based off of how your drafts play out, varied up a little bit. Thoughts on Mare in Dynasty? Mare gets tanked, so the whole Bowers situation, initial reaction to that was that I hated it, right? Because they don't have their short-term quarterback situation filled. And as much as we can always say, like, oh, they'll figure it out, it's like a lot of times teams don't, right? You might have 5, 6, 7 years go by. Look at the Commanders. You could have a long time go by and not figure out the quarterback position, even having early picks. And so it's not a guarantee that it's like, Adams will be gone soon and they'll figure out quarterback. And now Bowers is like, they're like wide receiver 1 at playing tight end. It's a cheat code. Like, you don't know if that's going to happen. And so that was my initial reaction, was like kind of a bummer, because I was hoping he'd go to a team that just like is in contention to win a championship, but just needed that one more weapon. And then they go after Bowers. That's what I was hoping for. But long term, they're basically just going to run a ton of 2 tight end sets, because I do like both of them. It's just the problem with Mare is that, like, now you're really down on the totem pole, and they have Minshew is probably going to be the quarterback this year. Excuse me. That's not amazing. So if they figure out quarterback, I'll be good on Mare. But yeah, I mean, in Dynasty, it's not great, but it's also not the time to sell. You don't sell right after something like this happens. You just have to roll with it. I'll continue that in a second. All right, so we're up here. We're going to have a few picks go by before. It's going to be 6 picks go by. So, I mean, we're looking at like Nico or Adams, slightly more likely, I guess, that Adams goes. So maybe we should try and take Adams here, play the ADP game a little bit. Maybe there's a chance that Nico falls to us. I'd be very surprised if Adams would have fallen to us at the 3rd pick. If we don't get that, this is another tier where it's like, maybe I'm going to get lucky and kind of get the end of this, because, even throwing in Adams in there, Adams, Nico, Neighbors, throw Diggs in there. Like, I don't know who's going to be the wide receiver 1 between Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs this season. Like, maybe, throughout the offseason, throughout camp, like, we're going to kind of start to figure out roles there, and we can kind of like refine the projections. But I don't care enough to like take Nico at 21 there, and then, when he could be there at 28 the next one. And if I miss out, maybe I can just get Stephon Diggs. That's kind of how it's looking like this draft is going to start off. We're probably going to go 3 wide receivers. I mean, I have 5 wide receivers in the next picks. I'm up in 4. If we didn't and we wanted to go with Jacobs, that wouldn't be bad. You can kind of see the ADP gap. You can see a little bit of a rankings gap kind of coming down into here. If I wanted to go with Jacobs, I'd definitely be fine with that. But I don't think I'm going to. I'm probably just going to grab another wide receiver. And then quarterback, no. I mean, you could take Allen. Typically, when I go with these early quarterbacks, especially in Best Ball Mania, like, there's going to be a bunch of people who have drafts where they get really lucky. Like, they get Allen at like 40, 45, and they're just like steamrolling me if both of our teams advance and we get in there. Like, they kind of have like an extra early pick. So I kind of treat quarterback as, did I draft a stacking partner early? Like, did I draft A.J. Brown in round 1? Now I'm leaning definitely towards Jalen Hurts. But if not, try and get a really good value at one of these early ones and then kind of pair after that. But like, we'll go after Stroud if we end up with Nico at this pick. Okay, he goes to pick 4. But if we had, we would have gone in that direction. So Neighbors, I think we probably just take our top ranked player here. And I definitely have not drafted Neighbors like too many times. I don't want to go too in depth on Neighbors, because in tomorrow's video, they'll be live 8 a.m. tomorrow. I go over all the rookie wide receivers, so I'll have a more in-depth take there. But the quick take on him is, I think the 3rd round is like appropriate. I think that everyone around him is the same ceiling. So if you're not in on it, don't. I mean, you should be completely like, in love with your first like 4, I'd say first 4 picks in every draft. So if you're not in love with Neighbors, don't do it. The real question on him is the ceiling. Like, can Daniel Jones really support the level of ceiling that, Neighbors has? Like, Neighbors has the ceiling to be a top 5 wide receiver. Does that happen with Daniel Jones? Questionable. But he also doesn't need to finish top 5, obviously, at this spot. But yeah, just finishing the one question on Mare. I just don't think it's a time to sell. Like, whenever something happens and players' value goes way down, for you to try and like panic sell them, it's like, it's so fresh in everyone's mind. I would just hold off, wait a little bit, see if there's a team that needs a tight end a little bit later on. Maybe he has a good game. Like maybe he opens the year still playing like 70% of the snaps because they run 2 tight ends. That's a ton. And he opens up with like 4 for 40 and a touchdown. That's when you'd be looking to sell, not like a couple days after they draft his replacement. Like it's so fresh in people's mind. I just wouldn't. But obviously, yes, the value goes way down because he's not going anywhere, right? Like he was a rookie last year. He's on a rookie contract. He's going to be there for a while. All right. Any other questions? What's your favorite after the top 3? Well, I would say, so I went with Jefferson in this one. I do actually think, and it doesn't really align. Oh, I'll pull this up. Sorry. It doesn't align totally with ADPs, but I do still think teams turn out a little bit better. Taking your favorite between Breece and Bijan. Again, my projections have Breece by like 2 points. So if you wanted to go with Bijan there, sure. But I feel like at 4, I like my teams a lot when I grab one of those 2 running backs at 4, because usually in this range, I mean, look at all the wide receivers that went here. Like, no matter what happens earlier on, you're going to get an option. You're going to get an option to have like multiple wide receivers at these next picks. And we know that it's obviously like Best Ball Mania is, and I mean, Underdog and any best ball in general is extraordinarily wide receiver heavy, especially being, not only best ball, but 3 wide receiver format. Knowing that, you want to be loading up on these wide receivers. So if you do miss out on that running back in that round, like it would be totally fine if I drafted 5 consecutive wide receivers, really hammer that out, not extend into 10 overall. Then if I took 5 in a row, we're probably only looking at like 7 or 8 in total. But I still think I prefer my teams kind of doing that hero RB approach. But who knows? Again, this is my first Best Ball Mania draft. We'll kind of see how teams stack up there. So at our next pick, if we wanted to go with wide receiver, we could definitely go with T. Higgins. I would have him as a pretty good value at this pick. I would say after that, though, I don't know that I'm in love. I feel like we kind of get to this tier here of like everyone's the same. I don't really want to be the first among that tier. So I would say ETN. ETN has the best chance, and they didn't really go after anyone in the draft. He's got the best chance of having, a top 7 season, being my hero. So I missed out on Breece Hall in this hero RB build. What if ETN outscores Breece Hall? Now I have a build that has Jefferson ahead. I'll pull everything up. But I think ETN makes a lot of sense at that pick. I think we'll have multiple stacking options because we'll have Trevor Lawrence. We'll be able to go with, if we wanted to go with Minshew, that's probably a little bit risky right now, but Daniel Jones will still be on the board. All the quarterbacks that we have the option for still on the board. McCarthy's in. Where would McCarthy be? I'm actually curious. So my projections have him at 143, 180. Okay. So that would be a really good one, obviously. Like if we could get McCarthy around that pick 180 to pair with Jefferson, just basically being like, okay, if Jefferson returns value at 4th overall, you gotta think that McCarthy had a really good year, or at minimum had multiple games that were really good, because if Jefferson's returning that value, well, he probably had multiple games that were like 150 in a score, 160 and 2, and he's going to bring McCarthy with him. So we definitely want to be targeting there, but obviously we've got a bit of time to wait. But it's good that our first 4 picks, all the quarterbacks are still on the board. I don't think we'll go with quarterback at this next pick. James Cook would be an option. Was it Ray Davis? Who did they? Yeah, Ray Davis. Drafted him. He wasn't a running back that was like totally on my radar as being someone like we got to look out for. He's going to steal his job. So I think overall it's a pretty positive outcome for James Cook, and they are going to have to lean on him this season. No Stephon Diggs there, filling it with Keon Coleman, who I'm not in love with. But yeah, I feel like James Cook would be a good option for us here. If we didn't go that route, still in that same tier, Marty Cooper, Dunze, Jaden Reed, Ridley, McLaurin, Kirk, like Rice if he's not suspended for too long. Even like Addison would be really good for us if we can get him maybe at our like next pick. So I don't think wide receiver would be the best route for us. Definitely would be totally fine going with one of these tight ends as well. Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts. But I think Cook makes the most sense. We avoided it. We're also getting a running back on a good team, and that's something you can keep in mind a little bit when you are thinking about this is best of mania, right? So it is not a plus EV contest to enter, right? You've got, I don't even actually know what it was. It was last season. It was like 250,000 people. I don't actually even know the exact amount of people that are in this contest, but it's well over 100,000. It's like a lot of people, right? So you have to beat a lot of people, and most of the money is in that final week 17. So when you're thinking about the running backs and you're thinking about, okay, who are some of these mid running backs that can really benefit me? Well, one thing you want to think about is leverage. If you've got a really good offense and you have the running back, well, now not only could James Cook just be leverage and like scoring a lot of points because he's, explosive running back, what if he has 3 rushing touchdowns, which now takes points away from Josh Allen, who I don't have on this team, takes away from any of the wide receivers who I currently don't have, Dalton Kincaid, who I don't have right now. Now, maybe we'll go after some of these players, but having a running back on a high-powered offense not only gives you the potential for them to score, but if they're scoring a ton in that week, it's taking away from other people on that team, and so you have a possible like leverage situation there. So good having these 2 running backs on the good teams, good having them at ADP values. We know historically ADP values correlate very positively. Keep forgetting to pull this up. Good ADP values indicate higher scoring teams. If you only sat here and drafted by ADP trying to get the best value, you're not necessarily going to build a great team. But if you had that on average, you are going to score like slightly better than people who are thinking they're getting good values but are like reaching for players, like thinking they're just taking the best player but are reaching by ADP. You're on average going to perform higher than them, and that is a proven fact. So that was a lot. Any questions up here? Double and triple, I don't know what that means. You got way too early last season. I guess they dropped the ball. I don't know what that's. Oh, we're doing a spring-summer promo. I did a promo for the site. I don't even remember when that was. That was probably like a month or 2 ago. So you missed out on that, and there's not going to be any others. Why different from Chase? You already answered that one. Usually try and do Reek over Chase most times because you're not a Burrow fan. Again, just to like drive home this point, don't take large stands. I kind of lost that on this one. I took a pretty big stand early on away from CeeDee Lamb last year, and then I kind of know because I didn't even realize I was doing it because I think I just had him like 2 or 3 spots behind his ADP and he just didn't fall that much. Make sure you're checking your exposures throughout the off season and make sure you're not like, oh, I don't love Puka at 10. I'd rather him at like 14, but he never falls to 14. So now you have 1% Puka. It's like, well, now if Puka has a season like he had last year or even grows on that performance, you have something where you were only projecting it a few points different from everyone else, but that meant you never got him. You got to have exposure to all of these players in like round 1 and round 2. You want to take a stand in round 5, 6, 7, go for it. Don't take too much of a stand early on. These players are going early for a reason. They're very good players. Okay. None of the tight ends are there. I don't like Kittle this season. I'm not drafting these tight ends. Maybe we'll go with Evan Ingram at like the next pick if he becomes a value, but none of the tight ends right now. At quarterback, pull up the team here a little bit. I like Jordan Love. Burrow, I like, but I probably would have gone Burrow if I had something there. No. Aaron Jones would not be a bad option if we want to just go in on like a Minnesota stack here. So that's top of mind for running back. For wide receiver, I think you got to go with Ridley, right? I think this is what we're going to try and do. I think we want to take Ridley here because I have him projected as easily the best value right now. ADP-wise, who's the best value. When both those things align and it's kind of fitting your build, go for it. We didn't necessarily need, you definitely don't need to start 3 running back, 3 receiver. Again, it's a 3 wide receiver format plus a flex plus its best ball. You want to be loading up on high-end wide receivers. Taking that 3rd running back, we didn't need to do so there, but I would like to get Aaron Jones at the next pick because of that Minnesota stack. If we don't get him, honestly, we could do a Tennessee stack. We could take Tony Pollard. So 2 options there at running back. We could also go with Hopkins. If we take Hopkins, we definitely need to take Will Levis. We cannot take, Calvin Ridley and Hopkins and not take Levis. But that wouldn't even be bad either. I mean, we're getting them at pretty good value. Late round 6, early round 7 to double stack the Tennessee passing attack. If Will Levis takes a step forward this season, ends up being like, not a top 10 quarterback, but a top 17 quarterback in fantasy, we'd really benefit from those 2 picks. So one of these 3. How would I order it? I would probably order it like this. I'd probably order it Jones, then Hopkins, then Pollard. Because I do still think attacking Minnesota here, like it's Minnesota. They're going to, no matter who the quarterback is, they're going to have some high weekly ceilings. There's going to be some games where, Aaron Jones really balls out this season. I think I want to do that. We'll cross our fingers we get one of these next 2 in the next round. Yeah, I want to take Aaron Jones. Like him as a player. Again, really high ceiling. But we really need to make sure we go after McCarthy because we want to have those games where it's like, they're dropping 30 and we're getting, exposure to the quarterback there. All right, we'll pull this up. You guys can watch all the picks go off the screen. Is there anything that's been weird? I don't think so. Quarterbacks are going early. Quarterbacks historically, the first ones had gone like around that round 2-3 turn. Wait, that's weird. I didn't notice that. Dak Prescott was the first quarterback taken. So this is something. It's like there's 2 schools of thought here, right? I understand the leverage standpoint of getting a different build, right? Most people are not taking Dak Prescott in round 3. And so whatever you end up with, even though you're getting worse value, you have a Lamb and Dak Prescott stack that is just different from everyone else. And there can just be value in being different in something like this. My take, though, is, I'd rather just be different by just taking much different shots. Like if you really want to take Lamb in the second pick, sometimes take Metcalf, sometimes take Nico, Neighbors, Diggs, Evans. You have a lot of different things that you can do that are going to make your team different in those CeeDee Lamb builds. Someone is going to get this where they got Dak like way down here in round like 6 or 7, and they're just going to have a stronger team than you. Again, I understand the whole leverage standpoint of making it different. I don't think you have to do it in round 3 to do that. So I don't know. That most of you probably know that. But yeah, that was one thing that was wild there. What I was going to say was 6 quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds is definitely a lot. Especially with like, this wasn't a stack. This wasn't a stack yet when it was drafted. This was a stack. So this one makes a lot of sense. Getting A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts. That makes a ton of sense. And then tanked out here with C.J. Stroud. So those ones made sense. But yeah, again, it's a little bit early for, not too early. It's just something I'm noticing different from last year. Quarterbacks moved up a bit, which is surprising actually because quarterback early, middle, didn't crush last year. There were so many injuries. I was thinking maybe we'd see quarterback ADPs push back. I guess people drafting Best Ball Mania a little bit sharper than your average drafters. And so you're not getting that same effect. Whereas in a hometown league next year, you might see people shy away from the mid round because of how bad the mid round did. Okay. We're probably not. Although Bowers would be smart to take here because we've got Adams. And we could theoretically be working our way towards a Minshew, Will Levis, McCarthy quarterbacking core here. But I just think this makes sense. 11 picks behind ADP. Again, ADP doesn't matter 2 days into WrestleMania. But just given our stack here, if I took Adams, I'm thinking they're going to have a decent offense this season, that they're going to be productive. I think this stack makes sense. Don't even have a tight end yet. It's a good spot, late round 8. I think it makes sense. So we're also building one extra option. Someone might just take McCarthy, Levis, Daniel Jones. Someone might just take one of them, and it's just nice to have multiple options for that stack later on. We're going to be up in a few picks, and then I will go in and I'll try and answer some questions there. So fire away if you've got any. I think for wide receiver, I'd be kind of good with most of these players. I don't want to reach on Myers. I'd look for a Myers stack after, but I don't want to reach to do it. But Dobbs, Coleman, that's a little early for Samuel. Maybe I feel like it needs to drop Samuel's projection. He's right at ADP, but I feel like I need to drop that a little bit. But those two, anyways. I guess we could look at tight end though. Like Njoku would also be an option for us. Running back. Yes, Swift wouldn't be bad. Swift would be solid. Okay. I'm liking this pick so far. And then quarterback. No, Trevor Lawrence is like at value. We have ETN, so it wouldn't be bad. I don't think we need to do quarterback though. I think one of these three. So who makes the most sense for us? I mean, Coleman, I'm not super sold on the talent for Coleman. Again, tomorrow's video, we're going to talk about the rookie wide receivers. I'm just not in love with him. You got to create separation. Like he won on screen passes. He won on contested catches. Cool that you're athletic. Cool that you have good play speed, but a slow 40 time. I want you to create separation. I don't want you to have to like moss someone, right? So we won't have to get him. I actually don't know what's best for our team here. My gut is telling me take Swift. Yeah, I think I want to do Swift. It's higher. It's 9 picks higher. It was 7 picks higher than any other player I had ranked. Good ceiling, good weekly ceiling for him. Another high-powered offense. You're going to have DJ Moore. You're going to have Keenan Allen. You're going to have Rome Odunze. All probably going to be on a lot of teams in the playoffs. DeAndre Swift has a receiving and rushing touchdown in a playoff game. You just steamroll past all the teams that took those players early. So, and given that they went after him early in free agency, gave him a ton of money, which was not expected, probably not advisable. You got to think he's going to get a decent amount of touches this season. So I'm liking this running back core for not even investing a top, 40 pick in any of them, but we can't go too heavy. We got to go back to wide receiver. So I think we really need to focus on wide receiver here in these next couple rounds, like really be attacking that position heavily. Last year championship, this year you won the title in 3 leagues. Nice. We'd love to see that. Will Levis is not going to be good. You only want wide receivers with good quarterbacks. That is something. Like you can try and only attack wide receiver cores on teams with really good quarterback play. What you're going to find, though, is like you're going to get into ranges where it's like, okay, among the next 10 wide receivers, it's basically all questionable quarterback play. Or you're going to get into a spot later on where you're like, okay, is it better to draft the wide receiver 3 on a team with a good quarterback or the wide receiver 1 on a team with a bad quarterback? I mean, realistically, it probably is better to draft the 1 because if you're wrong and Will Levis is good, we'd rather have his 1, him end up being good, than having the 3 on a team when you know the 3 is not competing with the 1. It's because wide receiver is also not really like running back. Running back, you can do that. You can be like, just take the backup on a good team. So the starter gets hurt. They thrust him into the starting role. You're locked and loaded. Wide receiver, it's not like you take a slot receiver and all of a sudden they're playing the X and all of a sudden they're getting, a pace for 140 targets. That's not really how it works. The targets just kind of shift to everyone else. So it is still good to attack, the top wide receiver on bad teams, especially if the quarterback can break out. Can't wait for fantasy football. Just join Best Ball Mania Draft. Nice. Join drafts, guys. Join. You can do 150. Again, I want to note, okay? I know I'm supposed to be selling Underdog. And again, if you want to draft on Underdog, promo code FFA, you're going to get my Underdog rankings, all my Underdog content for free. That's something that, you can sign up with literally anyone's promo code. Everyone's going to give you a promo code for Underdog. And everyone is going to get you that deposit bonus. Like, that's just going to be the case. I'm the only one that gives you, on top of that, you're going to be able to draft with the rankings I have on screen, like 2 seconds to upload those. But I will talk about contest selection in a second after this pick. Let's see the overall rankings. It is not good for what we wanted. Okay. So given my overall rankings, it says Spears here is a must. I already have 4. I can look at these wide receivers, but I'm not in love. Part of me wants to take Spears and then say I'm done. Because also I have that Tennessee kind of backdoor. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say I'm done at the running back position. I'm good with these 5. We're going to load out everything else. We do need a quarterback at some point, but just no one's been a great value, and we've been building stacks for some of these later options. I would definitely be fine going after Herbert. I have talked negatively about Herbert in I think in the Mock Draft Monday video, when people ask me questions about it, in like the newsletter and stuff like that, which again, free. I don't think in the description of this video, but go to the Monday video, go to the video that came out tomorrow or comes out tomorrow. There's going to be a link in the bottom. You can sign up for the newsletter, completely free. But anyways, I've been poo-pooing Justin Herbert this offseason just because they're going to run it so much. But like everyone's going to do that. Everyone's going to factor it into the projection. And so if he's going to go late, you can still get stacks because like you still got Palmer, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, like all those are still available in this draft. And so I'll be able to like backdoor a stack with Herbert when in previous years you had to basically already have the stack going into it. So it gives you a little bit of options there. Not sure I can really backdoor a Detroit stack is the problem. So yeah, I think basically Hawkinson and then a million wide receivers and quarterback. If we don't get Hawkinson, just take Top and take Lockett. I feel like that's the play. I think the play is Hawkinson. So I think to end this build, I know, again, I say, we need wide receivers in this type of format. We're basically hoping that Jefferson and Adams kind of crush this year. But if we're done at running back, we take Hawkinson and we say that we're done at tight end, we've got, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We've got 7 rounds to draft only wide receiver and quarterback. We're going to take 2 quarterbacks because you basically always take 2 quarterbacks unless that third quarterback is like 2 rounds of value. So we got 5. So we'll be able to have like the 9 after that. 9 wide receivers, having taken 3 in a row to start the draft is totally fine. But it means that's how we're looking. We are basically only looking at these 2 positions. We should get them on the board. So we should get McCaffrey. I'd love if McCaffrey was on the board. We should get McCarthy up there. We should get Daniel Jones. I think I just saw him. Good. Great. Well, do they have any other ones? No Jets, no Falcons, no Bucks, no Saints, no Browns. Yeah, so Daniel Jones, Levis, and then Minshew. So those are our quarterback options. It's not amazing, but given the bets that we made early on, we have a heavy bet on Minnesota. Minnesota. That's what we need. Like we need McCarthy in this draft. Like we literally have Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, and Hawkinson. Luckily, that means that like other people in this draft don't have as many stacks for Minnesota, so hopefully they're not really looking at it. But that's one where I'd totally be fine reaching a little bit to get, because also you're reaching in like the super late rounds. It's fine to do that. The never will happen is about 6 quarterbacks in round 4. I don't know what that means. Any better English there? No questions, though. Fire away the questions. If you guys want to take on some rookies, but again, Wednesday, Friday are going to be wide receiver, running back for video. So you're going to get takes on the rookies there. But any sort of off-season take, I think Saturday is also going to be biggest changes in the offseason. So you're going to have videos that kind of answer those sorts of questions. But like an underdog question, anything, I'll pull up this and make sure we don't auto draft McCarthy in round 12. But yeah, I mean, I think wide receiver would really just be, unless there's a stacking partner, just go with the rankings, draft top wide receiver. We'll try and make sure. I just don't want the next one to like not be paying attention and to like completely tank this draft, you know, because it's happened before on stream. Any players you think will have a big drop off this year? You almost think Cup isn't even worth a 4th round pick. Yeah, interesting. So you would lean obviously older players, players that have had decent production in the past, not so much this season. I don't want to miss this pick. Okay, I can look up here. Yeah, let's look in round like 2, 3, 4. Let's see. I would not be shocked. Again, I haven't finalized the take. Obviously, it's April on the Houston wide receivers. I wouldn't be shocked if Stroud loves Tank Dell, if he, Nico Collins is deep threat, and we see Diggs actually have one of his worst seasons in recent years, because he's also getting up there in age as well. There's no stack, right? And let's pull this up and go to ADP. Yeah, okay. We'll take Dotson there. Just want to make sure we don't miss anything there. That's one where that could definitely happen, but you're kind of accounting for it in the ADP. Cooper Kupp, yeah, I can definitely get on board with it. I think that the connection is there enough, though, and the way that Cooper Kupp runs routes, Kupp doesn't need to line up on the outside and just, run a comeback against press man coverage and win that. Like, Kupp is getting open on design plays, but also just like in the middle of the field against zone coverage. And that lends itself a little bit towards like that age curve is like pushed off a little bit more, opposed to someone who like wins based off like speed deep downfield. Like once that starts to go, you're cooked. Kupp can still get open against zone coverage. So I do think his ADP is like warranted being this late. But yeah, I could still see, a drop off happening there. Who's a decent answer to this though? I feel like so many of these wide receivers are like relatively young. I mean, you could see it with Keenan Allen. Does Rome Odunze go out there and just really, really take the league by storm, become a top 15 NFL wide receiver this season? We already know DJ Moore is good. And you look at Keenan Allen, maybe the rapport was there with Justin Herbert, but we look at, why am I blanking on the name? Caleb Williams, and, the connection is just a little bit different there. Could we see a drop off there with him being like 32, something like that? So yeah, it's more of these like older wide receivers. All right. Yikes. So we've hit a cliff for these wide receivers and we need wide receiver. That's unfortunate. Cousins, but we don't have anyone there. I don't want to take a running back, so I still kind of want to take the top wide receiver. I think we take Polk. I think we just take it. I also think Polk's ADP is going to rise. So how they started off ADPs, at least from my understanding, is they basically took the ADPs that were happening in previous drafts and they threw it into Best Ball Mania. Now, moving forward, Best Ball Mania ADP will adjust based off Best Ball Mania, right? So you're going to have that stabilized. They didn't have any drafts going on during the draft. Polk was drafted earlier than people thought. He went to a situation where, not great on the surface, but could Drake May turn out to be decent? Yes. Is he the wide receiver one already? Yes. And this is round 13. So my guess is it says ADP is 160. I think people are probably taking him a little bit earlier than that. And I think that the pre-draft ADP of 160 is not indicative of the value post-draft being taken earlier than people thought, to a situation where he's already the wide receiver one and going to get a decent amount of targets. They won't be high quality. But who knows? I mean, really, who knows with Drake May? Like, it is kind of a wild card. And also, it adds a name that we can throw in there on the quarterbacks at once. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, what order would I draft them in? It would be May 1st. I feel like I would still draft. Yeah, I'd still draft McCarthy before Daniel Jones just because my team's quite reliant on Minnesota. Okay. This is looking good. Would I take May in the next round? I mean, my next round pick is going to be 165. Yeah, I mean, His ADP is 163. Yeah. I don't have him projected amazingly, but in an effort to not end this draft with 0 quarterbacks and to have that stack, because also, let's say Drake May, and again, he doesn't need to be amazing, but let's say he ends up as like the quarterback 15, let's just say. I have 2 picks now back to back in 14-15 or 13-14, whatever 2 it ends up being. Yeah, 13-14. You have 2 picks back to back that both benefit greatly from the 1 pick. So the 1 pick is Drake May ends up being good. Well, that's going to take the Polk pick, and like he might return, 6th, 7th round value at that case. Now you have 2 later picks that like both really benefit. That's the correlation we're looking for. And then also just, home run plays. So I think I would take him at the next pick. Our boy Marvin Mims is still on the board. Unfortunately, they did draft Troy Franklin, who I also like. Kind of a crowded room there, but at least, Judy's gone. But hey, if Bo Nix is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, then it'll all be solved there, right? So that's basically the only decision. Like, it's Mims or May. So, okay, the decision is gone. Thank goodness, because I didn't want to have to make that call. All right, we'll take Drake May. We have a quarterback. Everyone applaud. We finally have one in the late 14th round. Oh, nice. I think we got a few questions here. Let's just figure out. Okay, so will we do, I'll answer the questions in a second. Would we do McCarthy next? Our next pick is 172. I would love McCarthy at 189, but it is probably not worth risking that. So I think I am going to take him at 172. I think I would prefer, because like the difference in the wide receivers I'd be looking at is like so minimal, and some of these guys I'd be taking ahead of their ADP anyways. I just don't think it would be worth it. I feel like I'd get the exact same wide receiver. So I'll take McCarthy next pick if he's there. If he's not there, would I go Levis? I mean, I have Spears and Ridley, but I also have Adams and Bowers, so I could still go with Minshew. Also, Daniel Jones, that ADP is just wrong. Like, they didn't draft a quarterback. Like, they're going with Daniel Jones. I don't understand that ADP. Like, if we could get him there, I would consider a 3 quarterback build if we could do that. Even though it's not optimal to do 3 quarterback. It is if the ADP is ridiculous, which I feel like it is at that point. Yeah, we'll take McCarthy there. I don't think we'll end up going with a wide receiver at this pick. Because, like, Douglas, though. Gosh. Okay, do we risk it? Because that would be good if we could get Douglas with Polk and May ends up being decent. I feel like a homer right now as a Patriots fan, but I promise I would have been doing this even if I wasn't a Patriots fan, just trying to get this correlation here. Because I like Douglas. I think he's really good. He's going to fit beautifully into that slot with Polk on the outside. Oh, I think we do it. I think we take Douglas. We cross our fingers. We hope we get McCarthy. Because I have all the Vikings. Like, who is taking McCarthy from me? Let's do it. Let's risk it. You got to risk it in Best Ball Mania, right? Someone's going to get the better production. And if we don't, it's okay. Because, again, we can still get Daniel Jones and just pair him with Neighbors. And then we can just grab another Giants wide receiver in, like, one of the later rounds. Hope they work out. So, okay, I think that's correct. I think it's correct. Okay. Any questions here? Would you rather have a 3 tight end build if you get Hawkinson in best? Okay. The question basically is, when do you think he's good to go? My guess right now, and we know very little about the situation, is that he's probably not going to be good to go to start the year. And then it might be, might even be half the year before he's like fully healthy. You would basically be hoping that Bowers is able to kind of like give you enough production there. But I would say in general, probably. You probably want a 3 tight end build if you have Hawkinson. The thing basically that makes Best Ball Mania in particular so interesting is all you have to do is advance. Like, then the points go out the door. So even if Hawkinson takes a while, if Bowers can get me enough production and then Hawkinson can get enough production when he returns, to where I can advance. Now it doesn't matter at all that I was slightly lower scoring. Now I've got this 2 tight end build. And at that point, I would want probably a 2 tight end build if both Bowers and Hawkinson are healthy in the playoffs. So it goes both ways. But safety wise, if you were trying to increase your just straight up advancement rate, yes, I think chances of winning it all, which are still very close to 0, but chances of winning it all probably, my take is, slightly go down. Because I also kind of need Hawkinson. Like, if I'm going to draft this McCarthy team, I need this offense to be humming. Like, I need this to be a great offense, which means Hawkinson is going to be productive. And so I kind of like need it all to work out. In which case, if Hawkinson returns earlier than people think, does better than people think, well, now it benefits me to have a 2 tight end build. So that's kind of the thought process, but you could really look at it both ways. How do you convert best, I'm assuming that was supposed to be ball, strategies to a normal draft? I mean, more just in the thinking, I guess, is how you would convert. Like, the idea of hero RB, right? You're going to do it differently in best ball to redraft. Best ball, you're just going to be a little bit more aggressive towards the wide receiver position. Like in a redraft league, you're probably not going to have 5 running backs and 9 receivers. Like, you're probably going to have it much closer to the middle. And you can afford to be a little bit more like, heavy into one position in best ball because you can like make up for it in those later rounds. But you can just adjust the thinking of being like, okay, I've done this early. I've taken this running back in the first round. Can I create a team that benefits off of it if that running back crushes by drafting other positions? You can have that line of thinking whether you're in best ball or you're in redraft. It's just that like the conclusion is going to be a little bit different depending on that. So we did it. It ends up working out for us. We get McCarthy. I like the team. Like, I like this team a lot. We do have 2 rookie quarterbacks, which is a little bit concerning, but we've got May to Polk and Douglas. We've got McCarthy with Aaron Jones, Hawkinson, and Jefferson. One thought I also have with quarterback, before schedules are released, it's a little bit more okay to do 3 quarterback just because there's a chance that May and McCarthy do have the same bye. Like, I don't know what the byes are right now. And so if that happens, I could just be cooking myself. If they both have a bye, I get 0 points, and it just like really crushes you doing that, especially having them both be rookies. And I'm just, expecting not both of them to have top 10 production. Realistically, probably neither one of them top 10. So I'd be a little bit more willing to go with that 3rd quarterback right now, just until we know. But you can also say that's another move that increases your advancement rate overall, but is not necessarily a like best ball mania winning way of looking at it. Maybe I just have to cross my fingers and say, you know what? I need this to work out. So I'm just going to hope they don't have the same bye, because if they don't, it would have been better to only take the 2. So again, there's so many ways of thinking about everything from a game theory's perspective. We'll just see kind of how this shakes out. So options here. Hyatt, still totally fine. You can absolutely take Hyatt, and then maybe hope that Daniel Jones is there in the next round. Hyatt does not get negatively affected too much by Neighbors. Neighbors is going to draw coverage. Hyatt was never a wide receiver 1. He was really just a deep threat. You could go with Zay Jones and just hope that he lands on a team that, because he was cut, lands on a team that utilizes him really well. My gut right now is telling me to do the 3. And maybe that's the wrong move, but my gut is telling me, given the 2 quarterbacks I've selected, let's take that 3rd one, because I do genuinely believe that Daniel Jones is being like severely undervalued at this ADP. Like, I think he should be closer to Drake May. And so if I think his final ADP is going to be around 20, 25 spots higher, it is still optimal. I think it's like 2 rounds. If you're getting that 3rd quarterback, 2 rounds of value, then it's fine to do so like mathematically for Best Ball Mania. But also, again, I'm betting on Neighbors having a really, really good season. Well, that probably means there's going to be weeks where Daniel Jones is traded with him. So I think that's my lean, because I'm also thinking we take like Hyatt at this next pick. If we don't get Hyatt, I want Hyatt. I mean, honestly, I would probably consider Zay and just cross my fingers and be like, does like, I don't even know who, does like Atlanta go after Zay Jones, and then his ADP goes from 190 and dropping, it'll probably drop down to like 2, up to like 170. Just who could see their ADP really rise, or who could benefit my team, but I don't see anyone. Kendrick Bourne, maybe we could go with that stack, but I don't know. I think I'm just hoping Hyatt. We're not going to take a 4th quarterback in Minshew, but I feel like it's these two. I'm also used to so the pre-NFL drafts were like 20 rounds. Was really nice to be able to have a lot of flexibility there. Used to that a little bit, but I think we're good doing the 3 quarterback here. Yeah. So you're saying it's probably best to take a 3rd quarterback on this team, while some of the late ones are super cheap, partially because of bye weeks, but mostly because you haven't spent much draft capital. But yeah, I if I had taken one in the first like 9 rounds, then I'd be like, or the first even like probably first 7 rounds, I'd be like, okay, I am assuming this quarterback does really, really well, captures a lot of like high spiked weeks. I had Drake May and McCarthy. Like at the end of the day, like how much confidence do we really have in both of them having great seasons? Not a lot. I am probably going to use that Daniel Jones score a decent amount. It doesn't hurt me that much because my first quarterback was at 165. So I agree. I do think it was the right one. And yeah, there's no way Daniel Jones is going up in ADP. All right. Who is the wide receiver? I mean, Michael Thomas, like, he's not on the Saints, I don't think. I think he's a free agent right now. But does a team go after Michael Thomas? I mean, Michael Thomas is probably cooked. That's probably not something you want to go after, but interesting. Do we do Bourne? There's no rookies that... Like, you go after Slayton if I wanted to do that part of the stack. I just don't know where Zay's going to go. And part of me is just thinking with Bourne, it's like, or with Zay, it's like, yeah, if a team like the Falcons were to pick him up, he's not going to go in the late 18th round anymore. Why don't we do that? Let's take Zay. He's going to go somewhere, right? He's not going to like retire. I don't think he's young, but someone will go after him. All right. Well, that's the team. Can I pull up the full draft board? There we go. It's not going to be the full thing, but that's how the team worked out. I like the stacks that we have. I like the general vibe of this draft of attacking wide receiver. Well, there was the value there. Just overloading these like running backs, dipping into wide receiver and tight end in the middle rounds, coming back to wide receiver late and drafting all of these stacks. I like the team, personally. I think we did a decent job with this. Was it perfect? No. We just missed out on a few like decent stacks, and maybe I should have gone with Bourne, because I like Bourne a lot as a player. But, who really knows what he's going to look like coming off the torn ACL. So, I don't see any more questions here. On other drafts, we might, extend a little bit more to answer some of these questions. But I think we're going to get out of here. Tomorrow, again, 8 a.m. is going to be a breakdown of the rookie wide receivers. Friday is going to be the rookie running backs. Saturday is going to be just like things that happened over the offseason, different changes that occurred. Leave a like if you watch at the very end of the stream. There's 54 of you in here, only 29 likes. Leave a like, greatly appreciated. But I will catch you guys